What I ask you tonight is to be unusual and be a good observer of what's going on. You can pick up ideas that can change your life starting tomorrow. Just be a more careful observer. Now remember, there's two ways to see. One is called sight. See with your eyes. The other one is called insight. See with your mind. See with your eyes, you'll see things. See with your mind, you'll see answers. Put your eyes and your mind to work. And the best advice on developing sight and insight is pay attention. Don't miss anything. In the weekend seminar we teach, one of the greatest fatalities to success is preoccupation, lack of concentration. The guy's mind wanders. See, you wind up average. You've got to learn to zero in and concentrate. I read a good article one time, Reader's Digest. The title was, "Wherever You Are, Be There." Excellent. Don't miss anything. Focused concentration. You've just got to zero in. You've got to identify your target and let nothing stand in your way. You've got to keep your eye on the target until you've released the arrow. Let nothing capture your attention unless it's in the best interest of your ambition. Let not an obstacle come before you without getting around it, going over it, going under it, trying a different path until you get there. Concentration in sports is crucial. The consummate professional on the field or on the court won't hear the jeering of the crowd. Their concentration keeps all noise and clutter at bay. They have one thing in mind, and that's moving the ball. You have to have just one thing in mind, keeping on track, closing out all the noise and the clutter that gets in your way, going around all the obstacles of negativity and influence. In a tennis match, how long does it take for your opponent to return the ball? Not very long. And what if you lose your concentration? Game's over. One little slip of concentration, just that fast, one little slip of concentration. Your opponent puts the ball by your feet, and there goes the tennis match. In a major presentation, just lose your concentration for a flash of a second. And I'm telling you, you could lose it all. All the hard work, all the long hours, all the preparation, all the momentum building to that crucial presentation could be gone if you don't keep your concentration. If you don't watch your audience, if you don't keep your mind on what you're doing, if you don't keep focused on the task at hand, it could slip right on by you. Wherever you are, be there. Whatever you're supposed to be doing for the moment, do it. You can't be thinking of everything you have to do at one time. All the time. You have to concentrate on just one thing at a time. One project, one job. You have to take it one task at a time and complete it. Do what you've set out to do. Keep your mind only on that one task. Why? If you don't, you won't accomplish anything. Concentration takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to demand privacy, to keep the do not disturb sign on your door while you're in the middle of an important job. It takes a lot of discipline not to answer the phone every time it rings at home. That's why they make voicemail and answering machines, so you don't have to answer the phone every time it rings. Your family will appreciate an uninterrupted dinner hour. Your night work will get done a whole lot faster. Concentrate on the work at hand and demand of yourself the discipline to stay focused. If you have a long list of things to get done within a day, do the toughest ones while your concentration is at its peak. If you're a morning person, get the job done in the morning. Don't wait until the evening when your energy is all spent. No, do the jobs that need the most concentration when your body is best able to handle them. If you're a night person, save those tough jobs for the night, not in the morning when you've still got cobwebs in your brain. Learn your body's rhythms. and do the jobs that need the most concentration when you're able to do them best. When you're at work, be at work. When you're in a conference, be in that conference. When you're at your kid's school play or soccer game or dance recital, be there. Don't let your mind wander. Stay focused. Stay focused on the task at hand or the company you're with. Don't let your mind wander during conversations. You never know what important points you'll miss. Stay focused. Stay true to where you are and what you're doing. Use your discipline to keep your mind in line. When you recognize the need to concentrate more, when you recognize this need, and when you discipline yourself to stay focused, it will come easier and easier. Focused concentration can be learned. Focused concentration can become a habit. If you work on it a little every day, the easier it comes, the less energy you'll waste on making your mind you. Make your mind pay attention. Discipline yourself to be where you are. Work at work and play at play. Don't mix the two. Concentrate. Give your job the attention it deserves. Give your family the attention they deserve. Give your colleagues the attention they deserve. Wherever you are, be there. Concentrate.
The one currency today that'll give you an edge in a marketplace over everybody else, if you know how to concentrate on one thing, you have an edge. If you know how to concentrate your efforts and be focused on one thing, you have an edge. If you can be focused on one thing and not look at everything else that everybody else is looking at, 50 different philosophies, 75 different ways to make money, 19 different streams of income. If you can figure out a way to go here, all of that stuff's going to come your way. But if you go chase all the other stuff like everyone else is, you're going to miss the whole point of winning in life because you can't concentrate. Concentration today is the number one currency. You show me anyone today who knows how to concentrate, I'll show you someone that nobody wants to compete with because it's very intimidating to concentrate in today's time. So yes, it is very confusing today. We are all over the place today. I totally understand where you could be here today, but imagine if you could concentrate. What would life look like? Imagine if you went back and started being hungry like you once were before. Combine hunger and concentration. You know what you'd be capable of doing? Anything you want to do. If you stay hungry and if you can stay concentrated at a time where the world is confused today.
When I was growing up as a child, I was teased very often for being so distracted. Teased for being distracted, teased for not being able to concentrate. It wasn't until I was in my early 20s when I graduated from university. I grew up in Australia and I left and went to Hawaii, where I joined my guru's monastery. It was a cloistered traditional Hindu monastery where he taught me how to concentrate. And that's really what I want you to keep in mind, this concept of being taught how to concentrate. It's in my humble opinion that most people can't concentrate today for two reasons. One is we're never taught how to concentrate. And second is we don't practice concentration. Right? So how can you do something if you're never taught how to do it? And how can you be good at something if you don't practice it? People tell us to concentrate, but they don't tell us how to. You can't expect somebody to do something if you don't teach them how to do it. And then if they want to be good at it, they have to practice it, right? So if I wanted to play for the Chicago Bulls or dance for the San Francisco Ballet Company, I ask people this question all the time in my talks. I ask them, how many hours a day should I practice? The general answer is usually about 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then I ask them, so after 6 months, can I play for the Bulls? The answer is usually no. After a year? No. But I'd be better at basketball, right? I'd be a better ballet dancer. So imagine if you practice distraction 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. What would you be good at after 6 months? Distraction. After a year, you'd be really good at distraction. After a year and a half, you'd be an expert at distraction. You'd write the New York Times bestseller on distraction. You'd get on stage, you'd be so distracted you forget what you were supposed to talk about. Right? That's how good you are. But the truth is, we don't practice distraction 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. The truth is we probably practice it more like 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. The average person sleeps, what, 7 to 8 hours, to say, roughly. So we're awake for about 16 hours of the day. Let's just say on average we're practicing it 13 hours a day, 7 days a week, distraction. And then you wonder why you're so good at it. That's the law of practice. The law of practice is that we become good at whatever it is we practice. Whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. If you practice something over and over and over again, you become really good at it. And that's why people are so good at distraction, because it's what they practice. Why aren't people good at concentration? Because they never taught it and they never practice it. They don't need to be drugged. They just need to be taught how to do it. Children don't need to be drugged. They just need to be taught how to concentrate. And then they need to practice it, just like anything else, to become a good tennis player, to become a good dancer, to performer, anything. Practice, practice, practice. And then people say things like, technology are great distractors, right? Smartphones. Oh, I have this thing so distracting, my smartphone. The internet. Are they distractors? I'd like to say no first, and then yes. But mostly no. Why? Let me tell you a story. So when I left Australia after university and went to Hawaii to be a monk, it was a very traditional monastery, so when you join a monastery like the one I did, you literally have to give everything up. Your family, your friends, everyone you know, everything you owned. And when you got to the monastery, you're given a set of robes, a set of beads, and a MacBook Pro laptop. Okay. Yes, I did say a Mac. So every monk got a Mac, and when iPhones came out, we had an iPhone as well. So technology in itself is not a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful thing, as long as we're in charge of it. But if every time your iPhone beeps or makes a sound and you turn to it and you go, "Yes, master, how can I serve you today?" then you live in that world of distraction. It's training you to be distracted. But if you actually use technology, then technology is not a bad thing. When I say yes earlier, that technology can be distracting, there are some aspects of technology that can be distracting. For example, in the Mac, you have notifications that drop down. But that's as easy as clicking on it and turning it off. Turning off those notifications and not responding, but choosing what you want to engage with. Right? So technology in itself is not a bad thing. The question is, do we choose to engage in it or not? So how do we become good at concentrating? We start by understanding the mind. So the first thing I learned when I went to the monastery was to learn how the mind works. Because once you know how the mind works, you can control it. And once you can control it, you can focus it. You can't focus or concentrate something you don't understand. So how does the mind work? From the monk's perspective, from the monk's experience of the mind, there's two things that you need to understand. One is there's awareness, and one is the mind. So I'll take a few moments to explain this to you and share what they are. So imagine awareness as a glowing ball of light, like an orb that can float around. Okay, so that's awareness. Now imagine your mind as a vast space, a vast area with many different sections within it. One area of the mind is anger, jealousy, food, sex, happiness, joy, science, art. And this glowing ball of light called awareness can travel within the mind, and it can go to any area of the mind it wants to go to. And when it goes to a particular area of the mind, it lights up that area. When it lights up that area of the mind, you become conscious of it. So to give you an example, your friend invites you to go see a movie, for example, okay? Okay, so you go to the theater, you're watching, you sit down, the lights are all on, you're chatting with your friend, the lights dim, the movie starts. And if it's a really great director or producer, he or she can take your awareness to any area of the mind they want you to go to, right? They can take you to a sad area of mind, to a happy area of the mind. The movie can get really exciting, thrilling, suspenseful, scary. And it's 90 minutes later, you see 2 words on the screen and it says, "The end." And you turn to your friend and you go like, "Wow, that was an amazing movie." But you paid $13 or $14 or $15 or whatever it is to allow the director to take your awareness to different areas of the mind. And this happens on a daily basis. Each day we allow someone or something throughout the day to take our awareness from one area of the mind to another. When we allow a person or something to do that, we're being distracted. The art of concentration is the art of keeping awareness, that ball of light, on one thing for an extended period of time. Every time that ball of light drifts away, we bring it back. It drifts away again, we bring it back, right? So that's the theory. You have awareness and you have the mind. You are not the mind. When people say my mind wanders all the time, technically that's a false statement. What wanders is your awareness. Your awareness is moving within your mind. And this is what happens all day. We allow people and things around us to take awareness from one area of the mind to another all day long, from the time we wake up. And therefore, we become distracted. To be concentrated is to be able to keep your awareness on one thing for an extended period of time. How do we practice this? We practice this by doing one thing at a time throughout the day. What's the best way to develop concentration? The best way to develop concentration is to bring that practice into our everyday life. Look at opportunities throughout your day. In your average day, ask yourself, what's a great opportunity to practice concentration? Every time you speak with your spouse or your partner, keep that ball of light, that awareness on that person. It drifts away, bring it back. It drifts away, bring it back. The more you practice this, the more you become better at concentration. Give her or him your undivided attention. So if you speak to your spouse for 2 hours a day, what a great opportunity to practice concentration. Every time you speak with your child, practice concentration. Parents come up to me all the time and say, how can I teach my children to concentrate? Very easy. You learn to concentrate first. There's an old saying that goes, monkey sees, monkey do. And if you can't concentrate, you can't expect your child to concentrate. And if you don't teach your children how to concentrate, how can they possibly learn how to concentrate? They can't. The benefits of concentration are endless, right? When you're able to concentrate, you're able to focus all your energy into a single given point. Life is a manifestation of where your energy is flowing. And if you can't concentrate your energy, the things that you want to manifest in your life becomes very, very challenging. So learn to concentrate by doing one thing at a time. Bring this practice into everything that you do throughout the day. Make it a part of your life. Practice, practice, practice. Keep bringing awareness back and keep it focused on one thing at a time.
So, do you have any practical advice on how I can improve my ability to concentrate and pay attention to the world around me? Well, I have some practical advice for that. The first piece of practical advice, often the devil's in the details, but often some practical advice is, well, regulate your habits. Try to get up at approximately the same time each morning. I would recommend that you get up approximately when other people get up. So that would be something in the neighborhood of 7:30 or 8 in the morning, or perhaps earlier, or perhaps a little bit later, but you want to stabilize that because your circadian rhythms operate more fluidly, and your mood is likely to be regulated better if there's islands of stability in your daily routines. Human beings like daily routines, just like dogs like daily routines. And so regulate your sleep. I would say when you get up in the morning, eat breakfast. That's a really important thing to do. I can't tell you how many people I've treated in my clinical practice whose proclivity for emotional instability and depression, anxiety, general hopelessness, emotional pain and gloom and doom, as well as capacity to concentrate, were properly regulated or inhibited or reduced by merely ensuring that they ate I would say a protein and fat rich breakfast relatively soon after they wake up. And that's especially true if they're stressed. And so it can be regulating your sleep, and your breakfast eating habits in particular can be a very effective way of regulating your mood and increasing your capacity to concentrate. The other thing I would say is that spending some time scheduling your time is also extraordinarily useful. And so I can tell you a little bit about how to use schedules effectively. So the first thing I would do the first thing I would say is that you should develop a long-term plan. To have some vision of the good towards which you're working, and some vision perhaps of the hell that you're avoiding. And then I would say, once you set up that vision so that you know how to orient yourself, then you should start designing your days. And you can do that very effectively with a calendar like Google Calendar. And instead of, many people say, well, I hate using a schedule, or I hate using a calendar. And what I would say about that is that if you hate using a schedule or a calendar, then you're probably using it wrong. What you're doing is using the calendar as an external tyrant that's telling you what you should do if you were going to be a conventionally good person each day. So you load yourself up with arbitrary responsibilities. But that's not really how you should use a schedule. What you should use a schedule to do is to design the day that you would most like to have. And obviously that's going to include accepting some responsibility and undertaking to make progress on those things that you have to make progress on to keep your life from collapsing into chaos. But it should also mean that you schedule in activities that make you actually want to have that day. And so if you're using a schedule properly, that it can be your friend. And that can also be something that can increase your capacity to concentrate. And then I would say, well, if you're very scattered, then you can start to train yourself. You might say, well, I need to learn to read without distraction. So maybe what you do, you say, okay, well, for the next week, I'm going to read 10 minutes a day, and I'm going to try to limit the distractions. And if you're successful at that, then you could try 12 minutes a day. And if you're successful at that, you could try 15 minutes a day. And the trick is to set a goal for yourself that is slightly beyond your current level of performance, enough to be challenging, enough to be worthwhile if you accomplished, but not so difficult that you're likely to fail. And then practice incrementally, day by day, trying to inculcate the habits that you want to inculcate. And assume that it'll take you a number of months or even a number of years in order to become very fluent at the habit. The important thing is to start improving incrementally, because incremental improvement pays off like compound interest. And so I would also say that the trajectory that you're on is more important than your starting point. And that's also an extraordinarily optimistic observation, because it means that direction is more important than current position. And I mean, current position matters, obviously, but I don't think it does matter as much as direction. So if you want to learn to concentrate more, define what constitutes concentration, break it into micro habits, and then start practicing instantiation of those micro habits. How do you eat an elephant? You bite off one chunk at a time. Well, that's exactly right. And that's also the hallmark of behavior therapy, the issue. But one of the things you do if you're a behavior therapist is take the problem at hand and decompose it into its microelements, and then practice implementation of the microelements. And that can be the inculcation of new habits, as I already mentioned, but that's also a great way of learning to face the things that you're avoiding, learning to confront the things you're avoiding that frighten you or that stop you in your tracks. So, if you're scared of going to parties or maybe scared of going out in public, you can also always go to the nearest bar for 10 minutes and sit there and have a drink and then leave, and then maybe expand that up to 12 minutes, and then maybe dare at one point when you go out to say hi to someone. But again, don't ever underestimate the utility of incremental improvement. You can get a tremendous distance by engaging in incremental improvement.